Hello again. This is my vlog, Life After Trauma, and the next two episodes are going to be about stress disorders, and I've categorized them a bit differently just because the initial trauma that is later impacting this symptom or shown up as this symptom, manifested as this symptom, is kind of different. And so this episode will be about PTSD and ASD. So PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder. In America, I think oftentimes we associate PTSD with people coming home from war, and that is a very common place to find it. But I think extending your view of this to something anyone that has faced trauma could potentially have, I think that's a safer assumption. A really good example of PTSD is good in that it is portrayed well, not that it's not difficult. But have you ever seen the movie Baby Driver? The main character of that movie was in a car crash with his parents when he was younger, and his dad was really abusive. And the movie really accurately and beautifully and artistically displays his flashbacks, his reliving and just reenacting of that event and just the traumatic effects it's had on him. There's often, along with flashbacks, there are more symptoms associated with PTSD, including re-experiencing, avoiding, and numbing just to these stimuli that kickstart these feelings of, oh my gosh, I'm right back where I was. I'm right back in the middle of a war zone. I'm right back being abused by my family. They're avoiding these instances where they could be put right back in that situation, which I would avoid that too. I understand when that's happening, but it's not necessarily a conscious effort. It's likely not. Because a lot of people don't realize, I avoid being in intimate relationships because that self-awareness is lacking often, in my personal opinion. Another bit of symptoms include this hypervigilance, hyperactivity, just easily startled, on edge, just ready to pounce kind of attitude. There's difficulty concentrating and also remembering, just because they're facing so much mentally that they're kind of not really present mentally because they're going through a lot. And ASD, the other disorder I'll be discussing with you, is called acute stress disorder. And there's an interesting relationship between PTSD and ASD because PTSD and ASD are often confused in their diagnosis. Doctors will diagnose people with acute stress disorder until it lasts beyond the short-term period of acute stress disorder, which is anywhere from 2 days to 4 weeks right after the incident. But PTSD has much longer effects, but it's still, both of these just come out of one initial incident or one thematic incident rather than a repeated trauma, a repeated harm. So yeah, and vice versa, acute stress disorder is sometimes confused with PTSD in that the effects of acute stress disorder won't show up until a couple days later, 3-4 days later, but they'll still last that short amount of time. And just that confusion is really easy to understand in the sense that it clearly came from one event, but all right, is it going to last a long time or is it going to last a little bit of time? But both of these are, the root of them is in one event. And this next episode of this podcast will go more into the more complex traumatic stress disorders. And those are, I'll talk to you more about them in the next episode. But this has been the episode about PTSD and ASD. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned.